I want to go to boxing now. And today came down Canelo Alvarez, one of the most popular boxers in the sport. I mean, one of the guys that is a pay-per-view star at this point in the sport of boxing. Canelo Alvarez is now a free agent. He is a free agent. At one point, he was with Golden Boy Promotions. He fought on DAZN. At this point, he is a free agent. Canelo is free as a bird. So he's free. And now there are reports that he's looking to return on December 19th against IBF 168-pound champion Caleb Plant. And Plant is a PBC guy. So Canelo now out of his Golden Boy contract and looking to fight a Caleb Plant. That's a good fight. That's a good fight. And I'm going to be honest with you. Going into that fight, I'm leaning towards Caleb Plant against Canelo in that particular fight. That's a big-time fight for Canelo. That's a type of fight where, Canelo, and here's the thing about Canelo Alvarez. Say what you will about the guy, but Canelo Alvarez has never been scared of a challenge. Canelo Alvarez has never been scared of a challenge. You look at the guy, he fought Mayweather maybe before he should have fought him as a young pup. He maybe shouldn't have fought Mayweather at the time that he fought him, but he stepped up to the challenge. He fought Erislandy Lara in a fight that many felt he shouldn't have taken. Took that fight, won. The guy he fights everybody. He fights everybody. And so Canelo, this type of fight for Canelo, that's huge. That's not an easy one. Coming into, going up against Caleb Plant, that's not an easy one. And Canelo, if he does fight Caleb Plant on December 19th, well, he would have been out of the ring almost a year and a month. Last time he fought was November of 2019. So if he fights December of this year, he's been out of the ring a year. So there could be a level of rust for Canelo going. And so I don't know if it's wise, but this is Canelo Alvarez, and give Canelo a lot of credit. I don't know if it's wise for him to go from, being a year off into a fight with Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant is big time. That's a big time fighter there. Guy with tremendous power, tremendous ability. And for Canelo to go from being a year off into that type of fight, I got to give Canelo credit. This guy, I got to give him credit for that. You look at Canelo, and this is a guy who is the cash cow in the sport of boxing. He is the most popular fighter in boxing at this point. He is the pay-per-view king of boxing at this point. He's the only guy at this point that probably could get 1 million pay-per-view buys. Him, Canelo Alvarez. And a fight with Caleb Plant would be huge. Would be huge. Absolutely huge. And so we'll see how that whole situation works out. But could you see Canelo, with PBC and the fights that could be made? One of the Charlo brothers, Jamal, and maybe Canelo at 168. Who knows? Errol Spence has been talking about maybe fighting Canelo, at one point in time. Caleb Plant, David Benavidez. There is a lot of options for Canelo with PBC if he does, in fact, sign with PBC or does something with PBC. There's a lot of money. And so it should be interesting to see how this works out. Does Top Rank throw something at Canelo? Is it going to be a PBC situation? Him and Al Heyman. Maybe he fights on Showtime. Maybe he fights on Fox. Fox pay-per-view and probably Showtime pay-per-view, because that's where Canelo's going. That's the only way you can fulfill his purse demands. So there's a lot of fights that could be made for Canelo Alvarez. And, this is a crushing blow for Golden Boy Promotions. Canelo was their guy. He was the biggest dude, the biggest fighter on their roster. He was the moneymaker for Golden Boy Promotions. He was. And they still got some decent talent on that roster, Ryan Garcia, Virgil Ortiz, to name a two. But at the same time, Canelo was your guy. He was your guy. And he's the reason you got that deal with DAZN. The reason you were able to put some of your other fighters on DAZN was because of Canelo Alvarez. So not having Canelo is huge for Golden Boy. You wonder what's the future of their company. That's going to be interesting. We'll see what Oscar can do, if Oscar can get some more talent in that pipeline. But you look at the situation, Canelo's a free agent, and there's, again, here's what I hope. Sign with PBC, sign with Al Heyman, and let's get those big fights on. Let's see Canelo Charlo. Let's see Canelo Benavidez. Let's see Canelo Plant. Let's see Canelo Errol Spence. I mean, we've been waiting for Canelo to possibly have an opportunity. I mean, we all know the promotional situation. So the situation with him fighting Charlo, we knew that would be difficult for that to happen. We knew it would be difficult for him to fight Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, Errol Spence. We knew it would be difficult with him being with Golden Boy Promotions. But he's not with Golden Boy no more. So now at this point, he's not with Golden Boy. So let's make the fights. I mean, too often in boxing, we don't make the fights. Too often in boxing, we have basically what we end up having is mythical matchups. We thought at one point in time Mayweather-Pacquiao was going to be a mythical matchup. It happened, but it happened later in their careers. We didn't expect to get that fight. We look at another fight, Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. We're hoping it's not a mythical matchup, but it could end up being a mythical matchup. We might not ever see it because of promotional issues. And when we actually do see it, both fighters might not be undefeated at the time, and both fighters might not be in their primes. So let's hope that happens. We saw it in the heavyweight division, Wilder and Joshua. At the time when they both were undefeated, it would have been a massive fight. It would have been a massive fight. But at this point, it's a mythical matchup, and it may end up being a mythical matchup forever. Because we might not see it again, or again, we might see it when those guys are a little long in the tooth and not in their primes. We don't see it enough in the sport of boxing where guys in their primes are fighting. We don't see it enough. So we got to fix that part of boxing. Got to fix it. You look at the UFC, and those guys get into the ring with each other. The top guys fight each other. It's that simple, plain and simple. The top guys in the UFC fight each other. We need that to happen in the sport of boxing where we have 50-50 fights. We need 50-50 fights. It's great. The sport needs it. Boxing is a great sport. But too many times it gets in his own way. Now Canelo's a free agent. Now he can, do some things without having to worry about this, that, and the third. So with him, again, so many great fights with PBC. So let's make them. Let's see it happen. Let's get Canelo in the ring with some of these guys, some of these dogs over at PBC. Let's see.